It's not often that you get a chance to chat with a living legend, but over the course of the next 90 minutes, we're going to do exactly that, in conversation with arguably the greatest player ever to skate for the blue and white, and the best number 13 ever to play the game of hockey. Here's Mats Sundin. Matt's a frozen lake near your home in Broma and your older brother Patrick. Were these the two biggest factors, do you think, in getting you involved in the sport of hockey?
Yeah, pretty much so. It's simple as that. I think when you're a kid, you always look up to your older brother and want to do what he's doing. And he starts skating, walking down to the lake, and I followed them. So as simple as that, that's how I started playing hockey for sure.
How did Patrick handle your success as the two of you got older?
He got very upset.
Really?
To start, no. He was better than me for a while, but I actually, around 12 or 13, I was a lot better than he was as a player too. So there was always fight, always like brothers fight, I think, but in a good way. He used to beat me up, and I took it out on my younger brother, and he didn't have anyone after that. So all in good spirit, and we had a great growing up. Our parents drove us everywhere. All three of us played hockey and played any sports that we wanted to, so we were very fortunate.
How active beyond the driving were your parents? Did they have to push you at any time in terms of steering you in a proper direction when maybe you needed it?
I think they did in a critical time. I remember actually being 14, 15. I think there's a window there where when you grow up, where all of a sudden you get the interest of girls, and your friends are starting to go out on weekends, and you have to go yourself to the hockey rink at 10 on a Saturday night. So I think my parents at that point said, you know, if we're gonna be there and drive you all over the place, we need you to focus on your school, and you know, if you want to continue to play hockey, we want you to put a good effort in. Otherwise, you're gonna have to do it yourself. So they helped out when it was kind of the critical hump to get over. They did a great job.
Is there one of the parents that you get your personality from? Are you a bit of both, do you think?
I say more my mom, actually. I think my dad is the softer one, and I think my mom she's a little tougher actually, and has got stronger will. So I think I'm more like my mom actually.
And a lot of us would find that surprising, because our perception of you is as a lower-keyed person, and certainly strong, but not as loud and out there as perhaps some other hockey players we've known in Toronto. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that, but I think there's to me, strong or quiet and the way you're saying, I think having the drive and all that is inside too. It's something you build up, and that you learn as you grow up too. And I think I've always had that, even though I've been soft-spoken.
Sundin, and Roberts is catching up. Sundin gets in. A backhand coming. Scores! Mats Sundin with that fabulous backhand of his. Got room to rip it, and rip it he did.
That great backhand that you brought to Toronto, where did it find its beginnings way back when in Sweden?
I think I've learned it as my career went on, or I had coaches as young tell me you need to be able to shoot both ways, have a good a right-hand shot, but also be good with the backhand. And then turning pro, I actually learned to play with a little bit of a straighter stick in the beginning of my career, and that helped me work on my backhand too. So, and a lot of practice. Just like anything else, there's no real secrets. You need to practice a lot.
There was always talk in Toronto that maybe you would have been better used on the wing, as good as you were in the middle. I'm sure you didn't want that to happen. Did you ever consider playing the wing as opposed to playing down the center?
I did start off my career as playing on the right wing, and I didn't have a problem with that. I think in the National Hockey League, if you want to have the puck a lot as a forward, I think you need to play at center, and it's just a different way of game when you're on the wing. There's more parts of the time of the game where you're actually waiting or try to get in a position. You don't hold the puck or control the play, where as a center, you get involved in the play right from the back from your own end, and you're more the go-to guy to give the puck and control the play. That's why I kind of like to play center, and I think I had my best years both in the national team and in the NHL as a centerman as well.
It's hard to think of you at one point as being a Montreal Canadian fan, but I think Mats Sundin had that effect on you. Tell me about your idolization for him and how important he was to you as a young man.
Mats Sundin was a huge idol. Obviously, Boris Salming growing up, I enjoyed watching. Kent Nilsson, who was an unbelievable talent to play in the National Hockey League too, was people that I idolized. And when I grew up, we wasn't able to watch the NHL so much. It was more the national team, but those guys were far away in a different league, and it was tough even to dream about being able to get there.
You had a chance to play against all three of these guys. That had to be a thrill?
Yeah, and with them too in the national team, all three of them. And I told Mats Sundin when the first time I was with the national team that he was my idol, and big thrill. And that's one of those things that keeps you driving hard, I think, and makes you realize that you succeed too when you get to the point where you're actually playing with your idols. It's a great feeling. Was
it about the age of 17 that a possible career in the National Hockey League took root with you, do you think?
I think so, and as I said, it's a critical time, I think, when you're 15, 16, whether or not you're going to continue to play hockey or continue to do something else. And I did get some recognition when you're 16, 17. You get to represent Sweden in certain junior national team tournaments and so forth, and all of a sudden you have some scouts that come and see you, and you kind of get a feeling that maybe there's something more than just playing in Sweden and representing your hometown. So yeah, I would say around 17, it was an important time.
And you get a chance before you come to North America to play as a teenager with grown men in Djurgården. How much of a transition was that for you?
I would say it was critical for me, and at the time Djurgården was by far the best team in Sweden. A lot of older players, some of them former NHL players, and they were actually very hard on me when I broke in there, and being a #1 pick almost at the time too. They taught me that it's not only about talent. They really helped me work to get physically strong enough to play in the highest level against men, and also an attitude to come to the rink and work hard every time and have a good attitude. So they really, my only year with Djurgården really helped me to raise the level of my game and the standard.
You win a championship that year?
We won the Swedish championship, and not much because of me. I think I played, I was dressed 34 games out of 40, played on the third line, and got to play a lot in the playoffs. I scored 7 goals in 9 games in the playoffs, but the coach said he saved me for the playoffs. He didn't play me a whole lot during the regular season, but great experience, and it really helped me when I turned pro.
And you get noticed in North America. How much of an eye-opener was the 1989 draft in Minneapolis for you and your dad who made the trip over to the States?
It was an eye-opener for Sweden, I think, and no one really in hockey realized what the draft was. It was the first time I think a Swedish player actually went to the draft, and I remember going with my agent, my father, and it was all new for us, and it was new for the media in Sweden. Actually, it became big news, but it was a learning experience for Sweden as a hockey country too.
Were you comfortable with the expectations that went with the first ever European going first overall? I mean, you were a pioneer, much like Borja was in his time.
And not until I got to Quebec City, where I started my career, I realized what hockey means in Canada too. It's what soccer is in Spain or in Italy or in England. There's a culture and a religion and a tradition there that we don't have in Sweden the same way. Sweden is a great sports country, but it's more a general, different kinds of sports, and Canada, it's a lot more focused on hockey.
Swedes as well, personality-wise, and I don't know if this is the way all of you are brought up, but the culture is different. You're not as out there. You're very gracious, very understated. Do you think that caught a lot of us over here, the North American media, by surprise?
I think it's in good and bad. I think that's not only great with that. I think a lot, you're right. I think a lot of Swedes are very drawn back and modest and don't say a whole lot. I think it's a different thing when Swedish players come on the ice. I think you have the same drive, the same will to do well and compete and all that. It just comes in a different package than maybe an American and a Russian or many Canadians, you know. And I think that's why a lot of Swedish players are very popular too in teams. They're normally very good team guys and fits in well in a group.
6 Swedes went in the first round in the draft in Minneapolis. They win the World Junior Championship in January. How does a country of 8 million people continue to produce such outstanding hockey people and personalities?
It's an ongoing process, obviously, but the Swedish Ice Hockey Federation the last 6 years have made a real commitment to work with their youth and try to bring in the kids when they're 15, 16 to a program. They gather them for the whole country of Sweden, all the best 15, 16-year-olds, and they teach them how to train, how to eat, how to prepare to become a good player, and really all the work they need to do to get to the next level. And that's why I think Sweden won the World Juniors this year. They were in the finals the year before that, and are continuing to produce great young players.
When you get a chance to settle down just a bit, do you see a future in international hockey for you to give back to Sweden? You've won World Championships, you've won an Olympics.
Yeah, I think I am actually part of the Swedish Ice Hockey Federation and Marketing Committee this year. Sweden hosts World Championships in Stockholm and in Helsinki, and also 2013, so I'm a little bit part of it. It's been nice to take a couple steps back from hockey. It's been so much, and it's been consuming my whole life for as long as I lived so far. So I'll always love the game of hockey, and I'm sure I'll be back in hockey somehow down the road. But right now, it's been nice to take a few steps back.
Let's go back to age 19. You come to Quebec City. How big a transition was that for you, not only as a player, but as a person, to come to the city of Quebec and get introduced to the NHL?
Well, it was a great adventure, leaving the room in my parents' house right out in the big world, coming to Canada, and then realized that everybody spoke French. But it was great. Young team. I think the average age was 21 or 20 at the time. Guys like Owen Nolan, Joe Sakic, a lot of great players and also great guys off the ice that I played with there for 4 years. So it was a great experience.
You bring a low-key personality. You're a rookie in this league. You're naturally shy, and you've got a fiery personality of a head coach named Pierre Pagé. He drove you hard, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He drove everybody hard. He had high expectations on all the players, and we didn't have a great team. I remember, especially my first 2 years. Joe Sakic were very frustrated, and in the third year we really turned around and we had a good year. We finished third, I think, in the Eastern Conference and really had a good start. We ended up losing to Montreal in the first round, and Montreal went on to win the cup. But great memories from the years in Quebec City.
You went 100 points, maybe 114 points.
Yeah.
So who were your line mates? What made all that possible that year?
I played with Valerie Kamensky and I think Owen Nolan most of the time. We had a great line, and all of us were young, obviously, at that time. I remember one game we were in Hartford, and we beat him actually 11-4, and I think our line had, I don't know what, I had 7 points, and Owen had 6, and Kamensky had 5 or something like that. It was easy to play with guys like that.
June 28th, 1994, you're traded to Toronto. Describe the day as to where you were, what you were doing, and how it all came down.
I was actually up in Lapland, above the Arctic Circle, fishing when I got the news. And there, I'll never forget it. We're standing at a stream out, and all there is mosquitoes and moose pretty much in that area. There's no roads at all, and all of a sudden there's a helicopter that came in with a with a reporter from a Swedish paper who jumped out, and he had some questions, and they took off again. And then we had another helicopter that came in with Swedish TV. He jumped out, and all the mosquitoes, I remember the guy had a T-shirt on, and the blood was just dripping off his arms, all the mosquitoes eating him up. So it was a big thing. I didn't realize back when I stood there fishing what it meant becoming a Maple Leaf, but I understood that when I got to Toronto.
Spent time with Börje Salming at his hockey school. What was the advice he had to you coming to Toronto and really replacing a legend like Wendell Clark?
He was very excited for me. I think he obviously understood what it meant being a Maple Leaf. He said that you're going to have a great time, you're going to love the city. It's a different pressure than playing anywhere else, but it was all compliments, and he was really excited for me.
How important was he in coming to North America and in turn coming to Toronto in terms of paving the way for young Swedish players like yourself?
Yeah, Börje Salming broke the way for, I'd say, not only Swedish players, but European players, the way he played and conducted himself as a player. And I remember especially when I was asked to be the captain for the Leafs, I called Börje Salming and talked to him about it, and he said that he was asked to be the captain, and he said no, and he regretted that for the rest of his life. And he said, you have to take it. It's a great honor. It's something you'll carry with you the rest of your life. And I have no regrets since doing that.
It was controversial, you coming here. Did it take a while, do you think, for Leaf Nation to finally accept you?
It was different, and I have to admit, the first few years, there's no doubt you have to earn your stripes. And in a market like Toronto, it may be more than some other places. And being a European, Swedish, and also, like you said, replacing a man like Wendell Clark didn't make it easier, but no regrets there either. And I think it fits my personality too, that I want to show that I can fight my way to and earn the people's respect, and I think it was good for me.
September 30th, 97, you're named the captain of this franchise, the 16th captain. Looking back, could you appreciate the significance now, what you might have appreciated back then? Two different feelings, do you think, looking back on it?
Absolutely. There's no doubt that you're young and hungry, but inexperienced where you're at that age that I was back then. But what a great honor and I look back now, when I look at my career, I wouldn't trade it away for anything. I wouldn't trade my time with the Toronto Maple Leafs for a Stanley Cup or anything else, and not being the captain either. It's been a great experience for me. I think I am a type of person and a leader that enjoys to get the responsibility of being a captain. I think it helped me as a player. I think it made me a better player and a better teammate. And it has brought me nothing but great things.
The leadership qualities that you bring, the class, was this inherent right from day one growing up in Sweden, or was this something you developed as you progressed as a hockey player, as a man?
I think I've actually enjoyed it, and I think, and probably I wasn't thinking about it back then, but I think it's something I've had a quality since I was a kid, actually, and that I enjoyed being in groups and having a leader role, and I've had that with me since I was a kid, actually.
What was it like in the early part of the decades leading that veteran hockey club that had so many unique personalities, from Ty to Eddie, Gary, Joe, Darcy? I can go on and on. That was quite a room.
Yeah, that was quite a room.
Yeah.
That was quite a lot of different personalities. In a way, I think it's easier with a veteran group. There's no doubt about that. You have guys like Joe Newendijk and Gary Roberts, and like you said, a lot of experience, guys that have won championships. They know what it takes. I think it's more of a challenge to be a leader in a group with younger players, talented players that you know you want them to grow and you want them to develop and get better. It's more of a challenge, I think. So I think it's been great, and I enjoyed both of them.
Comes on, but it's Sundin and over the line. Shooting! Stop, rebound, scores! Holy mackerel! Mats Sundin ties an NHL record, his 11th overtime winner.
Fall of 1998, Pat Quinn comes on board. Could you sense that something was about to change, that things were going to get better?
Yeah, I think when Curtis Joseph came on board, as you said, Pat Quinn, I think there were some other players that were signed. I think Ken Dryden and Anders Hedberg and Mike Smith and these guys did a great job building a team, actually. And if you look at the way the teams are built today, they were really ahead of the time. They were looking at guys that were able to skate. They wanted guys that can pass the puck and actually contribute, score goals, not only in your first line, but right through your whole lineup. And great goaltending, and they made a big effort to sign Curtis Joseph, who was one of the best goalies in the league at the time. So that was a big change, and all of a sudden you were winning games, and you were winning the close games, and you were winning games where you're not really playing at your best, which is a great sign of a good team.
You were fun to watch as a club as well, and I remember going into Dallas in '98 and you guys beating them down there and Steve Sullivan scoring a hat trick. That was up-tempo hockey, and you could play up-tempo hockey when you knew you had Cujo back there, pin the ears back and flood the zone.
Absolutely, and you said, and one of those names that I think when you have a great team, Steve Sullivan played on our third line. I mean, he was rightfully so complaining about not. He was good enough. Like you said, he had hat tricks. I don't know how many times that season, and he couldn't get above 14, 13 minutes a game. But that's the type of team. And you look at Detroit, that's the kind of teams they've had for so many years, and that's the reason why they're top 3 in the league almost. And right now, again, they're right at the top of the standings. And I like the way Brian Burke and the Leafs are formed right now with a young group of players. Everybody are skating. They're all capable of scoring goals. I really like the way it looks.
It's about relationships with head coaches, and I know Steve in Ottawa on a game where I think he had a whole busload of people from Timmins down to see him play was a healthy scratch. He went into Pat and raised hell. He was placed on waivers.
After that?
Yeah, after that. What was your relationship like with Pat? How important was that?
It was good. I always had respect for Pat Quinn as a coach, and I think his biggest asset and quality was when he came in a room before a game, or he was going to talk to the group. He had a great way of getting the message through, what he wanted to do, and build up a feeling, even though it's a grind of a long season, for every game, that this is an important game and we need to do this. And he had such an experience of being into a long season, so he knew how to handle the team and address the team.
He knew how to address the officiating staff as well, chewing hard on that gum. Were there nights that you guys had to bite your tongue and just sort of look straight ahead? Because I hear he was awfully funny.
Yeah, it was great. And I remember I remember we got these sheets at the middle of the season about things we thought were good with the team and bad, and one question was, you know, the coaches. Was there anything that you'd like to change with the way the coaches are? And everybody was writing down that there should be less complaining on the referees. We think it's hurting the team, and that was like 6 years in a row we had the same.
Right.
And it was funny when Pat brought that up after gathering all the information, and he was laughing and he promised he was going to change. And the next game, first shift, the puck drops, it's an offside, and he's yelling at the referee, and everybody's laughing on the bench.
It doesn't reach the net. Sundin hustles over and gets it out. He's trying to pull away from a check. He does pull away. He's in. Scores! Mats Sundin, and what an effort to break away for the Maple Leafs. And you wonder, will that goal do it? What an effort by Sundin to pull away from his check and score for the Maple Leafs. 2-0. Leafs facing elimination tonight, but here's McGillney. Pass in front, Roberts. Loose puck, Sundin scores. That's Sundin ties the game.
What was it like to play in the playoffs as a member of the Maple Leafs?
Well, no better thing, and I mean, when you have a team that hasn't won a Stanley Cup since 1967, and you're in the first round, and you come out and you win that first game in the playoffs, and you drive out your car out of the Air Canada Centre, you come up onto Yonge Street, and there's 30,000 people out there, everybody's sitting on their cars, honking their horns, and you're driving home. I mean, if that doesn't build strength and get you going and loving to play hockey, I don't know what is. They're great memories, and we had great runs, and that was the best part, I think, being in the playoffs with the Leafs.
You seemed to play your best hockey when sudden death was on the line. What was so good about overtime? I mean, it's obvious, but you for one always seem to rise to the top.
Well, I think it actually started as a kid, and I scored. It's been something that followed me, I think, through my career. I did score a lot of goals in important parts of the games, and I enjoyed playing in games that were close, 2-2 games, or when everything was on the line. I think I played my best game then, but I remember as a kid on the driveway at home where we were playing with my brothers and everything, it was always a 2-2 game, and I always wanted to score that winning goal. And usually it was against Russia or in a national team game, but I think it carried over into my National Hockey League days too.
You had to appreciate Steve Thomas then and what he brought to the game, especially in those moments.
Stumpy was one of those guys that we always said once the regular season was over and the playoffs started, it was like he had some other legs on. Actually, he skated twice as fast as during the regular season.
What was it like going head-to-head against Ottawa every spring, and what did success against an organization like that mean to the Maple Leafs?
I think it was great. At the same time, I think we were a little bit unfortunate to have to play them every time, because those series took so much energy out of us, and you look at some of the other teams actually had much easier starts of the playoffs than we did. For many of our rounds went to 6-7 games, and there were hard-fought battles every time. So great memories, but tough games. And
the Battle of Ontario that we all talk about now, I mean, that was it. You were a part of it, and the different people in each of those organizations, I mean, it was perfect. It was perfect games. You were almost hoping that we were going to be in the conference finals, though, instead of the first round. It was the toughest playoffs hockey, and unfortunately, as I said, it was the first round, so it actually, I know we had 4 or 5 guys who were hurt right away, right off the hop after the first round. The battles were so hard. What was it about the organization, Toronto specifically, that you couldn't compete with them during the regular season, but come a series, you guys knew how to win? What was the difference? I think it was experience, and I think we had a type of team that were built a little more for the playoffs. We had a lot of hard-nosed guys that didn't want to lose, and I think when you lose against a team as bad as we did during the regular season too, you build up a frustration and a will to beat them. And I remember beating them once on the road in overtime in the first game, and after that we built momentum and didn't want to lose to them again. 2001. I think you lost every game in the regular season to them that year, and you go in and sweep them. Let's talk overtime goals. I know you remember Game 1 in Ottawa. Take us back to that and how it all developed for you inside the blue line.
Yeah, it was a great goal, and the story behind that too is I used, for most part of the season, I had a wood stick, and at the end of the season, I went over to use a Synergy, one of the Easton sticks. I had a little easier to shoot with a little more flex and better kick in it. And I remember going into the playoffs, I said I was really happy the way the stick worked, and I felt that I had a better shot and everything. And in overtime, sure enough, I was ready to go off and change, I think, and the game came back up into Ottawa's zone, and I think Steve Thomas or Gary Roberts passed me the puck, and I took a couple strides over the blue line. I just let it rip, and I wouldn't have scored like that with my wood stick, but I'll take it. It was a great goal, and we got a good start in the playoffs because of that.
Did you have an idea that you guys were going to win that series after one game?
I think especially when you play a team that you struggle against so much, if you win a game on the road like that, it really builds confidence and momentum, and we play really good after that.
Daniel Alfredsson, he's a great guy. He's a tremendous hockey player, an ambassador for Sweden and Canada. He gets booed every time he gets played here in Toronto, and every time he plays in Ottawa and Toronto's there, he gets booed by all of Leaf Nation. I don't think I've ever seen Keith Acton as mad as he was that specific night that he drilled Darcy Tucker into the sideboards. Tell me about that night.
There's so many great memories, and Alfie has been involved against the Leafs for sure. Yeah, he hit Darcy Tucker from behind, I think, and Darcy was knocked out, and the puck stayed in our end, and he scored, I think it was the winning goal as well. So that was double up bad luck for us. 2004,
you break a stick and try to throw it against the glass. It gets accidentally tossed into the stands. You're suspended a game. Next game is against Ottawa, and there's Daniel pretending he's going to throw it up. I asked him what he thought you would have thought. Did he appreciate the humor of the fake stick throw into the crowd way back when, which we'll always remember?
Well, you'll have to ask him.
And he said, well, ask Mats. So did you find that funny at all?
I did find it funny, and I laughed in front of the TV when I saw the highlights of that. I know Daniel off the ice. He's a great guy and a great competitor, but I think once we've been on the ice, we're both very much competitors, and we had our battles on the ice, but off the ice we're laughing and are good friends. And the stick thrown incident was one of those things that I didn't make a big deal out of it. I think it looked worse than it actually was.
Daniel's one of several Swedes I think of who were not highly thought of in terms of being drafted. I mean, Nicholas Lidstrom, your draft year was 53rd, and you think of Zetterberg, and you go on and on. What is it about these players that make them so special that once they come here, they defy the odds and show people that they are truly special hockey players?
It's a good, tough question. I think a lot is the team you come into, I think. And Zetterberg, for example, came in as a late draft pick, but he came into a great hockey team. Fedorov, I think Eisenman at the time was there. There were great leadership. Lidstrom, there was a few Swedish players, but they were a top team, and I think that really helped him develop into a great player. Alfredsson really made his own hay, I think, in Ottawa by coming in, but I think in general, all Swedish guys are easy to fit in a team. I think we all have a team mentality that I think really are easy to be accepted in the room, and I think that has helped all Swedish players.
Owen Nolan's just retired, but one of your contemporaries, Nicholas Lidstrom, continues to play. How amazing an athlete is he to play at this level for so long and excel at it?
Yeah, and I can be the first hand to tell. Nicholas Lidstrom, it's obviously a difference playing a defense, but he's an absolute machine, and the most rewarded player ever come out of Sweden. All the Norris trophies, Stanley Cups that he's won, and scoring the game-winning goal in the Olympics for Team Sweden '06. And a great player, great player, great teammate, great guy in the dressing room, quiet guy, the most quiet guy you would think in the dressing room, not a raw leader, but guys know when he comes out on the ice, he brings 110%, and he makes everybody else in the room do the same thing. A great player.
You've been out of the game now a good year. How's your body reacting to all of it when we think of Nicholas Lidstrom and what he has to do to keep pace? Tell me about your body, soreness, everything that goes with it.
I probably lost, I think, 8 pounds since I retired. I eat half as much as I did as an active player. And it feels great. Physically and mentally, I haven't felt this good since I was 25. It's the wear and tear of the National Hockey League, the pressure mentally and the grind physically, it really wears you down. So it's been great for me, for my body to heal up after I retired.
Control again, on they come. This is Sundin to hold to Sundin. He shoots and scores! McGillney, who hit the goal post earlier, finds Amperfall back to Sundin. Sundin working to the net, scores! Holy mackerel, what a move that is! Willie Sutton is in the building. And it still counts. Sundin to the net, now the race scores! Holy mackerel!
In putting together this 90-minute special, we had an opportunity to speak with many from the hockey world who had so many nice things to say about Mats Sundin. Let's hear from them now. How special an athlete was Mats?
Well, first of all, he was a great hockey player, great person, but what I think really stood out also was his leadership. To play with him in the national team, you had so much respect for the guy, not only for what he did on the ice, but off the ice too. He brought a lot of confidence to the group.
I mean, Mats, he did a lot for me, you know, in my early stage of my career, you know, so I've been always looking up for him, how he'd held himself on the ice and especially off the ice, so he's a great person overall.
And I don't think he ever had a chance to play in Toronto with another forward who had his imagination and ability with the puck, or his stats might even be elevated beyond the ones he's got now. But if you were picking an all-Toronto Maple Leaf team, I don't know whether he'd be one of the top 3 forwards, but he wouldn't be far away if he wasn't.
He's one of the legends now in Swedish hockey, and had an outstanding career, both in the NHL and internationally, and you know, I always enjoyed playing with him. Maybe not as much playing against him, but a good friend, and I think, you know, a real pro. I mean, he came to play every night and did whatever he could to make sure his teammates got better, and you know, I always looked up to him coming in. I mean, he broke through a lot earlier than I did, and but he was always gracious with time, and I think most teammates would say that about him, and you know, obviously a deserving honor for him.
Whenever you were down a goal late in the game, when Mats Sundin came out, you knew he was going to create an opportunity for your team to tie the game, and I think that was always something special about the way he played.
He was still, to this day, the most dedicated player I played with, and as far as a captain, he was amazing. He was really generous with his time, and he always had something fun planned for the team, and you know, he was always taking young guys out and bringing us to dinners and showing us things that were a lot of fun.
He had a great slap shot, but that backhand move is probably you know, one of the best. I think he got it up so quickly, so I almost brought it when he came down against you, but he was so skilled, and also because he has such a long reach, it was tough to stop him.
Well, every time, every night he's been dominant player. So that's by his play and by his leadership. He's just showing everybody that he's never quit, you know, and that's something I didn't see many players, you know, have this talent like that. So just every game he's been a leader. It doesn't matter how the game goes. We're losing by 5 or winning by 5. He's been always a great player and great teammate.
It's an overdue recognition to get his jersey pulled at the top of the Air Canada Centre. I think he's one of the best Leafs that ever put the uniform on, and I hate to tell you how many wonderful highlights he gave me to talk about when I was doing the television games for Hockey Night or for LeafsTV, covering all those Leaf games. And so I wish I could be there, but I'll be in Florida playing golf, Matt, so you know it isn't easy to make a change when you've paid for the tickets. Well, something you would understand. But what a wonderful guy and a terrific night, and I hope the fans in Toronto give him the kind of rousing ovation that he deserves, because when he left, it wasn't quite on the terms it should have been. But he was a great player and a pleasure to watch and a real nice guy. And congratulations, Mats. I feel I'm partly responsible for this because I showed all those highlights of you scoring goals.
We'll continue our conversation with Mats Sundin in just a moment.
Over on the left wing, nice play by Sundin to regain it in over the line. He scores! Mats Sundin with a blistering shot from the top of the circle, and in his 1,001st game, he makes it 1-0 with his 34th of the year.
Almost had a short-handed chance. Here's a 2-on-1. McGillivray, Sundin, and it's over. Mats Sundin, on the night he was honored, wins it in Toronto.
Getting back to captain, I noticed in the years that you were with the club, you never hung with one particular group, and there may have been a young group of players on the team. You'd take them out for dinner on the road. You moved around a little bit. How important was that for team unity, for you as a captain to bring that team closer together?
Well, it's important, and at the same time, it's not that easy. You know, I think it's very important as a captain. You try to make sure that everybody feels they're part of the group. When you're 23 or 24, 25 guys as players, and then you have trainers, everybody's got to respect each other. You can't think that everybody's going to be good friends and hang out off the ice or go for dinners and so forth. But a big and important thing, I think, to become successful as a team is that you need to have the respect in the room, that when you come in for a game, you want to fight, you want to cover a shot or block a shot for the guy sitting next to you. I think is very important, and that was the philosophy I had. And whether it was the young guys or the Russian guys, and you have all the different nationalities, I think I try that anyway as a captain, and I think it helped our teams playing during the season.
It's been a decade now since this team last went to a conference final. Think back to the spring of 2002. I mean, that was a bittersweet time for you, wasn't it? You didn't get to participate as much as you would have liked to.
Yeah, I broke my wrist in the first round against the Islanders. I think I got a shot right off the face-off on my wrist. But I got to watch a great end of that playoff round, and another playoff round where we ended up in the first round in a war with the Islanders, and then in another war against Ottawa, and we still made it to the conference finals and lost to, in my opinion, and probably our best chance to reach the Stanley Cup final, Carolina, who had a decent team, but we had a great season that year and didn't end up going to the Stanley Cup finals. Had a good run, but it was a great memory anyway.
Alan McCauley and Gary Roberts that spring. How special were those two?
Well, Gary Roberts was a living machine in that playoffs. He was scoring, he was hitting, he was back checking, he was a leader in the room. He really carried a big load, and a guy that I think you forget as a Leaf fan is Alan McCauley, who those years we had great teams, was that key two-way centerman that we had, and when I was hurt, he really filled that role void and become a scoring centerman as well. Great player that did a great job with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
You and Darcy get back into that series. I think it was Game 2, maybe Game 3, maybe Game 2 in Carolina. Was it tough filtering back into a lineup that was doing so well, then all of a sudden you get a dose of vitamin Mats and vitamin Darcy, and things, Carolina seemed to at least pick up, and Artur Sorbe played outstanding hockey from that point on as well. Yeah,
it was a close scoring games, I think, right through the whole series. They played a real defensive, sit back, kind of trap game. It was great. I mean, you're just eager to get back in playing. The team is in the conference finals, and you've been resting for a few weeks. It was great to get back playing, and it was a hard-fought round. And I remember we're down 1 goal in Game 6, and we scored a tying goal there, and just the loudness in the building at the Air Canada Centre. That's one of my favorite moments, actually, being on the ice as a player in the Leaf uniform.
You scored the tying goal.
I did. I know.
O'Neill fell. Carvalhay fights for it. O'Gilney is there trying to move it up. It's to the corner. Pass comes out. Brent Roberts had his stop. And now behind the net, Sundin jumps out in front. Leafs are all over the net there now. Here's a chance at the line. Big shot by Carvalhay. Shoots right in. Scramble. Score. The Leafs have tied the game. And the place goes crazy.
That was great.
What was your reaction and the team reaction when Pat got sick during that series?
Well, you get worried. Obviously, everybody was worried about that. I'll never forget, before Game 6, we went down Game 5. We actually beat Carolina in Game 5, came home for Game 6. And Pat Quinn came in, and he still had the wristband from the hospital, and he had like small hoses stuck to him. He stepped into the room, and he was just a warrior at that point too. He went through a lot of tough treatments. He came back in the room and gave us a really great speech, and it was a battle, and that's what it is in the playoffs.
He couldn't smoke cigars anymore. I mean, that looked strange, didn't it?
Yeah, and I think the Raptors were happy about that because all that smoke drifted into their dressing room. So I think they were happy about that.
What was it like when a coach like Pat Quinn is released from his job, a man who didn't want to leave this organization, felt he had still more to offer and was told to move on his way? That's got to be hard on you players. It's got to be hard on you as a captain.
Yeah, it is, and at the same time, it's just the business of the game. Whether you're a player, coach, general manager, whatever you do, it's professional sports, and it's all about winning hockey games and getting the playoffs and getting the job done. And we're all under the same pressure, and it's part of the business. Pat Quinn had a great career with the Leafs and with all the other teams he coached and managed, and I'll remember Pat Quinn for the rest of my life, working with him.
Is there a void when you look back in your career, no Stanley Cup in Toronto, and just how good it would have been?
I would have loved to win a Stanley Cup with the Toronto Maple Leafs. There's no doubt about that. At the same time, I wouldn't trade the years I had with the Toronto Maple Leafs for anything, not even a Stanley Cup, and not being a captain for the Toronto Maple Leafs as well. This has been my best 13 years of my career and my life, living in Toronto and as a citizen and as a player for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I wouldn't trade that away for anything.
March 10th, 2003, you record your 1,000th point.
Try to battle off the boards, and now it's Carter and Sundin taking over. Here's Sundin in front. A shot scores, and there it is. Point number 1,000 for the Maple Leaf captain.
1,000 points is another thing that when you start as a 19-year-old and you're hoping to maybe be able to stay in the league for 3-4 years, and all of a sudden you score your 1,000th point. It's just something that over the years, it's tough to take in actually, but obviously I'm very proud of that.
October 14th, 2006, Calgary, Saturday night, Mika Kiprusoff.
And Sundin is up there. 2 goals on the night. Mats Sundin wins the game with 500 in this terrific career. The captain of the Maple Leafs has this crowd going nuts in the Air Canada Centre. Sundin, a hat trick, and number 500. what a story written by the captain of the Maple Leafs here tonight. I guess you will smile. That's number 500 in a fantastic career, and maybe a tear or two was coming from this great captain.
Is that your greatest night as a Leaf, do you think? One of them, anyway.
I don't think so. I like to say that it's always about the playoffs, though. You know, you gotta, you know, you're in the spring there and in May. That it's just nothing beats that. But for regular season wise, for sure, playing Calgary and get the overtime goals, shorthanded, playing 3-on-4, and get my 500 goal. Obviously, that was a great memory, and just a reaction from the crowd there too. Went from pretty silent to that roar. That was pretty neat.
Sam Gagner just a little while ago gets 8 points in a game. You've got to appreciate just how hard that is. April 11th, 2006 against Florida. You and Newey going back and forth. You guys were in a zone. Take us back to that night.
Yeah, I remember having dinner with Joe actually before the game, and he was with Florida, and Joe Nieuwendyk, in all honesty too, has probably one of the best players and teammates I've ever played with. What a class guy, and what a great player, what a great career. He had 3 goals, and I scored 4 goals that game and had some assists, and we were losing pretty much the whole game right to the end, and we ended up winning in overtime. Great memories.
How do you look back now on your career when you see the names that you have passed along the line, Keon and then eventually Sittler? How do you look back on your career now when you see your name with those names, but above them?
Well, I'm very proud. I'm very proud to be mentioned in the same sentence as guys like that. And I've been lucky through my years to have great teammates and great coaches being a Toronto Maple Leaf. And you know, when you get honored the way and get your banner lifted with guys like Boris Salming and Sittler and Johnny Bauer and all these guys, it's impossible to take in. I think it's just something I'm going to cherish the rest of my life, and I'm extremely proud.
2008, just prior to the trade deadline, we're in Ottawa, and it's an emotional time for you, and you've been asked to waive your no-trade clause. But a good captain never goes down with his ship, and this is something you wanted no part of. And why me? What have I done to deserve this? How difficult was that now looking back on it?
It was tough. It's tough when you're, and I think I was really happy the way the season was going as well. Personally, I felt really good about the season that I've had, and as a team, obviously, we were a few points out of the playoffs, and you know, you're at an age, and you don't really realize it, I think, until you get in that position that you have to make a decision like that. But I don't regret the decision I made. I think I made the decision that I felt was right for me in heart, and it might be a strength of me and a weakness at the same time, that I think I'm a loyal guy, and like you said, I felt the team had a chance to make it into the playoffs, and I wanted to stay with my teammates.
Did you consult Boria during that time?
I can't remember if I talked to Boria. I did talk to a lot of different people. I talked to Anders Hedberg and a bunch of other former players and coaches that I've had, and it was all come down to your gut feeling and at heart what was right for me.
Center. A pass brings Sundin. He's in alone. Scores! 507th career goal for Mats Sundin to tie the great John Beliveau.
Roenick is the man who is charged for cross-checking. So the Leafs, Sundin scores! Sundin! High shot! Tie game!
All right, let's play a little name association. What comes to mind immediately? Alexander Mogilny.
Best player I've ever played with. Really the most skilled player and most gifted hockey player I play with. And in all honesty, probably after his peak, he was a little bit beyond his peak when I got to play with him. But what a skater, what a natural hockey player, Alexander Mogilny.
Roberts into the corner. Mogilny scores! What a great pass by Alex McGillney! Holy Mackinac, the Leafs have tied it 3-3.
What a brilliant mind. He had an awful lot of fun at the media's expense.
He did, I'm sure, and I'll never forget. I walked into the weight room, and Alexander McGillney was being stretched by one of the strengthening coach, I think, and I told Alex that, Alex, can you imagine if you just worked out a little bit more, you can stay in this game for another 20 years. And he looked at me, he got quiet, and he said, now why would I want to do that? He was a character, but he was a great player.
Brian Leetch.
Yeah, another superstar, obviously a Hall of Famer, one of the best defensemen ever to play the game, and I was fortunate to play with him too for a season. Great guy.
Wendell Clark, Mats.
When I think of Wendell Clark, I'm thinking of a really heart and soul, good old Canadian Western hit and run, tough guy and a really soft-spoken, great guy off the ice, but just a monster on the ice, and a guy in his prime that just played too bold for his body. His body just couldn't take his mind, really, and the way he played. He was just a machine, and the whole league was scared of him.
Jonas Höglund.
And the Leafs the other way. They get the zone. Höglund gets set. The pass in front. Score! Beautiful play by Höglund to see Mats Sundin heading for the net. And Sundin knifed it high over Urbe, and the Leafs for the first time are in front of the game.
Jonas Höglund, a great sniper with a great shot. And I remember playing with Jonas Höglund, and I always bug him about that. He'd be standing in front of the net, and I'd be in the offensive zone, try to dig the puck out and try to find him, get him a shot. And as the other team broke out of their end, I skated by Jonas in the back check, and I beat him back to our end. And then I was working in our corner with the defenseman. I used to bug him about that I used to pass him. He used to wait in front. I used to pass him going in the forecheck, and then I passed him going back, doing the back check in our end. But a great guy.
Very good guy. Your best friend, Ty Domi.
Yeah, Ty looked out for me. And in all honesty, I think you miss guys like Ty in hockey today. You look at the disrespect a little bit that you see with blindside hits to the head and guys taking runs at some of the superstars in the league. Sidney Crosby is out of the game right now. And when you had a guy like Ty Domi in your team, and there was a Ty Domi in every team back then, if you're going to take a run at a guy like that and one of the superstars or one of the better players, you knew you would have to fight. So you had more respect in the game in a way when you had guys like Ty around, and Ty looked out for me, and thankfully I didn't have any concussion through my career, and he did a great job, and he's a friend too off the ice.
Do you know you're getting old when Max Domi's just a year and a half away from being draft eligible?
And I've been watching Max since he was 7 years old playing hockey, and look at him now. He's one of the young bright stars in Canadian hockey, and I'm really hoping that he's going to be a great player in the league and a true gentleman off the ice as well. He's a great man, and I wish all the best for him.
Curtis Joseph.
And Curtis Joseph looks like he has come to play tonight.
Curtis Joseph was a great guy, and he is a great guy, and what a great player. When he came to the Maple Leafs, he gave us hope, and he was, I say, the biggest reason that we turned from being a team that missed the playoffs and to a real contender right away when he came to the Toronto, and stopping everything, and also a great leader in the dressing room. He really brought the team together, and a true honor to play with him.
Another great goalie, but certainly different, Eddie.
Smolinski slides it in. Loose puck. They whack at it in front, and down is Eddie Belfour. And no, sir, it's not going over the line. Belfour is outstanding. Solid goaltending.
Eddie Belfour, yeah, Curtis Joseph and Eddie Belfour, some of the great goalies that ever played the game. Eddie, I'll never forget when he got on the bus in training camp, and we were going to a game, and he said, first year when we signed him, and he said, guys, if you just score some goals in a game, you get us a couple of goals, I'll get shutout after shutout, he said. And he was all serious. He looked back at the bus, and we looked, and everybody was kind of didn't know if he was joking or not. And then he had like 3 shutouts in a row. And another great leader in the room, and probably the most fierce competitor that I played with. He was really, did not like to lose. He stayed at the rink till 3 in the morning if he lost a game, and he was fixing his equipment and changing his skates, and he was a great player.
You come to Toronto as a member of the Vancouver Canucks. I don't know if you realize just how emotional a night it was going to be, but take us to that face-off in the corner as the crowd gets on its feet and the game is stopped. What was that like?
Yeah, it was hard. I think you put in so much time and effort, will, tears, joy over so many years, wearing the blue and white, and all the sweat and blood that you left at the Air Canada Centre over the years with your teammates. It was a lot of emotions, obviously, and I think Mats Sundin was taking the face off against me. And great memory. Really weird to come in on the other, being on the other bench and seeing the Leaf bench on that side. You see Brian Papineau there that you competed with for so many years. It was really weird. It was really awesome, the reception that I got from the Leaf fans. And another memory for me that I'll have with me the rest of my life. Great.
Well, hockey gods were smiling on you too. You didn't pick up a point that game, but it goes to a shootout. What are you thinking as you're going down the ice?
Yeah, and I was the last shooter for us.
Vancouver wins the shootout 2-1. And Vancouver wins the hockey game 3-2.
And like you said, it was almost set up, scripted the way it ended up, and I got a chance to get the winner in the shootout. And it's funny because you had so many penalty shots, and practicing and playing against Vesa Toskala in practice, and he knew exactly that there was going to be two options. Either I was going to shoot high in the glove, or I'm going to fake shoot high and try to deke him and go to my backhand. So I'm very glad that I scored the goal and it didn't save, but it's a great memory too.
Your charity work brings you back to Toronto. Tell me about the event and what has united two countries in terms of making maternal health so important, not only for Sweden, Canada, but the world for that matter.
Yeah. Well, I think as becoming a National Hockey League player and as a former player of the Toronto Maple Leafs, I learned being a Leaf player that you not only be a good player on the ice, you need to be a leader off the ice as well and be involved in the community. And that's something I learned playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I remember all the times we've gone up to Sick Kids Hospital visiting kids that are permanently ill and all the tough treatments that they deal with. And to be able to contribute the way we are with this program here, I'm really excited about that. And to be mentioned in the same with the names like University of Toronto and the Karolinska Institute really means a lot to me. So I'm hoping this program is going to really carry through now for many years.
How much fun was the all-access event at Real Sports and the facilities we have now, and an opportunity to honor one of the great Leafs? Incredible,
and incredible to still come down to want to get autographs from former players as well 2 years or 4 years after they've been gone. That's great. But it's incredible, and it's great for the fans. And you have the Real Sports Bar and all the souvenirs you can buy in memorabilia in the store there, and then you have the beautiful Air Canada Center. So this is the hockey mecca, and it was really exciting to be down there. I chatted with Matt Nichol this morning just about your commitment to physical fitness. Did that commitment start and then evolve as you became a player? Were you a better fit player later on in your career compared to what you were like in Quebec? Absolutely, yes. And if people ask me if there's anything that I regret about my career, I would say I wish that I worked as hard with my off ice from I was 19 till 25 as I did after that. And you know, who knows the changes would it be, but I really was committed, and I learned that being a pro, the longer my career went, that the fitness and taking care of my body was more and more important, and I really learned from Matt Nichol and other players as well that helped me. Olympic gold medal, World Championships, Stanley Cups. Do you separate? I know you didn't win a Stanley Cup, but the opportunity to have won the other, those two separate entities, the thrill of doing one for a country compared to your team, are they different, do you think? Yeah, they're very different. Winning an Olympic gold for Sweden was huge. I think Sweden, it was the first time a Swedish team won a gold where you had all the best players in the world gather, and every team was represented by their best players. So that's a great merit, and it's different. Stanley Cup run is just a long grind. It's a 2-month event that really, it's a marathon in a different way, you know, and so it's tough to compare them, but I cherish the conference finals moments as much as the Olympic gold. Final couple of questions. Do you still stay in touch with your former teammates? I do, and even though it's tough, most of them are over in North America, and we moved back to Sweden. I do stay in touch with a few of them, and you know, everybody, life goes on, but I try to stay in touch and to meet people at different events. What's life like for you and your wife without hockey? Hockey's always going to be there, I think. When you played hockey for your whole life until you're 38, it's always going to be there. I always going to love the game of hockey, and it's been the life's been really good to step back a little bit, and now I get to enjoy my career a little more. I get a chance to look back and meet teammates that I play with, look at achievements that I've done, and a night when you get honored at the Air Canada Centre, I'm really going to try to take it all in and enjoy it. It's been a great run.
It's been a privilege. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Paul.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.